All right, Cancer, this is a reminder that even though you are seeing the same thing over again, you're going to be able to make it through this. So shine bright like a candle. You will make it through this, and round and round. Round and round is saying that you may be going through the same thing that you have before, but this is an opportunity to finally break the cycle. Although it may not be easy, shine bright like a candle is saying that this is about resilience and endurance and making it through a very trying time in your life. But, the good news here is that this won't happen again. This is definitely something that I don't think that a lot of you expected to have happen again. I almost feel like this is going to be about a second chance involving a situation in your life, and then unfortunately seeing the same thing that may have happened before. And it may be very difficult, but you are going to be able to make it through it. And again, it's not going to be something that's ever going to happen again after this. All right, Cancer. Here's your overall. The Magician. I'm seeing this one a lot. The Magician being the overall is going to be about, your confidence in your ability to manifest that cool ass shit, whatever the hell you want, right? Taking those big ideas and making them reality. And feeling like you have what you need to make something happen here. Now, in the past, there you are, the Chariot. So for a lot of you, I think that with the Chariot, you may be looking at your past situation, and it may have been one of those things where there is like an immediate breakthrough or quick momentum. For some of you, it's literally moving or physical travel with the Chariot. But it is about willpower and self-control and a sense of direction. And with the Magician, right, having the ability to kind of get things back on track, so to speak. Okay, and in the present, the King of Cups. Now, for some of you, this could be about another person that you're dealing with. Another water sign, male, female, doesn't matter to me. But in terms of the way that you are projecting yourself right now, it's about the self-control that you have over your emotional side, but still being emotionally open or available, or that is who you are dealing with. Somebody who is more emotional, loving, caring, supportive. And it looks good. Wow. Man, oh man. Future conditions. The High Priestess. Now, there may be something that you are kind of keeping to yourself that you're wanting to have become reality or make happen, because you're becoming more emotionally open to someone, or emotionally open to the idea of something picking up speed or picking up momentum here. Wanting to create something with someone, wanting to make something happen. But I look at the High Priestess, and this is like passive. So you're not really acting, but you're kind of watching and observing things that are going on. But we're also talking about the hidden information that comes to light. It's also about trusting the intuition, right? Knowing like you know. You may not have the facts to support what you know, but that's where the trust comes. And what is it that you're bottling up, though? Emotionally, what is it that you're wanting to see happen? I look at you coming into this with the Chariot and feeling like things are back on track. But there are still some things that you're kind of keeping. I don't necessarily feel like it's about secrets that are coming out. And even if that is the case with the High Priestess, you already know. Your best path to follow, the Knight of Swords. Here's what I'm going to say with this. And this is what I get from this card more so than anything else. Looking at the two-headed horse. This is quick, swift action. But it is acting in haste. Is there another way that things could have been done? We're talking about you acting quickly, acting directly, but also, we're talking about really blunt and direct communication, though, too. And like I've always said with the Knight of Swords, this is somebody who's concerned with getting a response. It's, you're going to listen to what I have to say, and that's it. But I think that this is going to be more so in terms of action. I think for some of you, you need to be careful about acting too quickly, especially about something, on an emotional level. You don't want to act too quickly or too hasty. My God, if I could talk right, on the way that you're feeling in the present moment. But the King of Cups would suggest that there is at least some control over the way that you're feeling. But I don't know. Because I see you not really doing anything in future conditions. You've already kind of like picked up the pace and where you're wanting to go here. But it's not really acting though with the High Priestess. It's like sitting back and kind of, watching things first before you make something happen. Now on the other hand, with the Knight of Swords, it could be that you need to act quickly here in order to keep things on track. Wow. Okay. I see what's happening. All right. So with the Eight of Swords being in the environment connected to the King of Cups, this is either about you or a person that you're dealing with that is emotionally stuck. Now, I still feel like we're dealing with, you and another person that are becoming more available, more emotionally open, because things have happened quickly, because in the past it looked like things were getting back on track. But there is an inability to make something happen here, even though you have what you need to make it happen. Somebody is stuck with something on an emotional level, but then also with the way that they're thinking. They're not really seeing how things can move forward. And maybe there is a different direction that needs to be taken here, but I almost feel like you need to act quickly on this before things go wrong, and I don't mean to say that in like a really bad way, but, the Eight of Swords is never a good thing, right? There's always a way forward. Ultimately, it's us that makes the choice to stay stuck, But it's specifically having to do with the way that you feel, and it could be, like I said, about another person that you're dealing with here. Your hopes and your fears, the Hierophant. You want, what I feel like looking at that is, especially if we're talking about a relationship here, you want something to get back on track. You want to have that kind of like stable kind of commitment. But it's time to kind of pick things up, needing to pick up the pace. Let's get going here. But you're not really doing that though in future conditions. And I wonder if it's something that stops you, something that you find out about, or something that is kind of going on beneath the surface. But with the Hierophant, it's traditional values, but it's also knowledge that you have, gained through your experience here. And if we're talking about a situation that is coming back around, there's at least some level of understanding of what to expect here. So like, that there's something that's up, but it's not that, it's just somebody is stuck. But I look at the Hierophant and I think that for a lot of you, it's wanting something traditional, hoping that somebody is going to stick to a commitment, but then also you wanting to have this. Oh boy, yeah, talking about something being up, the Devil, and that is the issue. So there is still something that is attached to you or someone that you're dealing with. For some of you, it could be an unhealthy relationship, an unhealthy situation. And there needs to be, this quick action, but there is a different direction that you can take to kind of get over this. That's kind of what I feel like looking at the Knight of Swords. But the Devil coming out, we're definitely talking about you kind of knowing that there's something like lurking in the background. I don't necessarily feel like it's your own personal demons. If it is, it's going to be, your own thoughts and emotions that are keeping you stuck and preventing that kind of, movement forward. But definitely there's going to be a need for some self-control moving forward. But, if we're talking about a relationship here, I think that that there is still something that you're going to have to deal with that is negative between you and the other person. The Magician, though, I feel like could possibly be about somebody manipulating another person here, and it not being very good with the Devil coming out. But though, you've seen this before. This is the Devil, it's still there. It's beneath the surface and in the background. But is it making a reappearance, And that could be anything. It could be bad habits, it could be unhealthy things within a relationship, or it could be a person here that someone has an unhealthy attachment to outside of. And then the Emperor. And, this is a controlling factor that is directly affecting you. And it may be, your own personal attachment to something unhealthy. But like I said, this may have to do with another person that you're involved with. Because I do feel like that for some of you. But the Seven of Wands, looking at that with the Chariot, this is you, standing up to that kind of opposition and saying, no, this is what I will not deal with and not accept anymore. There is a defensive nature, but it allows for you to pick up speed and momentum in your life, in your relationships, where you are going, having a better sense of direction. But it's only because you have fought this off before, which, again, goes back to the Devil, Looking at the Page of Swords and the King of Cups, there may be a reason why you are needing to stay in control of your emotions here, or you may be struggling to do this because somebody is still stuck with something unhealthy and this, but I feel like there isn't full information about it, but intuitively you already know leading into the High Priestess. But this could definitely be about somebody who is not really wanting to talk about it. And I think for you, you're wanting some answers here. I don't think that you're getting the full story. But this is also about processing information that you didn't really want to hear about somebody who's still stuck with something that is unhealthy and negative. And like I said, that could be a lot of different things, but I feel like outside influence is playing a part in this. But the Emperor coming out, it being a controlling factor. This is also about getting control over, the Devil, the chaos, right? And getting control over what is happening here. Because you start off that way with the Chariot in you. But this is you kind of needing to put your foot down and act quickly here on this. No, this cannot, be what we go through again. That's kind of what I'm feeling like looking at this. But, again, with the Emperor, who is in control, who has control. But definitely somebody needing to get ahead of this situation. And I think that that's something that you need to do. You need to get ahead of this. You know it. You know what it is. You've dealt with it before. And it can throw everything off course here. Oh, boy. And, I feel like if you're dealing with another person here, there's a part of them that may still be, emotionally damaged from something. It's like they want to pick up the pace with you, but then at the same time, they just can't get over this. They're, and I want to say that they're trying. But, it begs the question here if this is something that you really want to go through again, I mean, definitely you're going to be able to make it through this. You're going to be able to overcome this, even if it is about your own personal demons. But I don't know. It's something else here to me is saying relationship, another person. And that relationship could be relationship here, but I look at the Hierophant and I think major commitment, you know. And I do. I think that you really need to have faith in your ability to kind of, you know, get ahead of this, get control over this. You know, and I worry that for some of you, it's you not really paying attention to what your intuition is telling you. But I feel like this is kind of like a heads up here. Trust what you know. Compassion will bring about new energy to help heal heart and spirit, which is perfect. And I see the intertwining. So if we are talking about a relationship, as long as you know, move forward with a sense of compassion, that's going to allow for new energy to help heal the situation. You can make it through this, right? I'm not seeing anything coming to an end here. I think that there is a way forward, but this is something that you know and you've seen before. You know what it is, but you also know how to get ahead of this. You know, but you need to trust that your intuition is right, that this devil is very much present in your life, whatever it's representing. But it needs to be dealt with and it needs to be taken care of now, right? I like it. I like it. But I also kind of look at faraway places, and I think that maybe for some of you, especially with you coming in with the Chariot, it's time to remove yourself from these situations. So it could literally, like I said before, about moving away from that type of temptation for you or another person that you're involved with. But once you open up to, you know, new horizons here, you will see miracles. You will be able to make it through this. I think you're okay, Cancer. But don't doubt what your intuition is telling you, especially if you know that there is something negative in your environment, right? If there is something negative that is, you know, around you. Whether it's dealing with, like I said, your own personal issues here or someone else's. But like I still feel like it has to do with someone else. And I think that, you know, with the King of Cups, you are trying to be loving and you're trying to be understanding. But you're really, really going to have to be compassionate moving forward on this. But again, this is not something that will ever happen again. So once you get control over this, that is it. It will be over with once and for all.